I'm Maarten Vos. I'm a producer, cellist, composer, sound designer, mixer, like everything that a musician has to do nowadays. Welcome in Berlin, in Funkhaus, in my studio. This is where I spend my days and nights. I have all kinds of instruments to play around with, like some modern synths, like the Polybrute 12, but also some vintage synths. And my cello, I studied classical cello. This is where my roots come from. The studio here is the main thing where everything goes through and I can send effects and other outboard gear. Then here is my modular setup with a Buchla, some Eurorack stuff. What's interesting for me about Eurorack is that you can build your own instrument. You can combine the modules yourself and really learn the instrument however you want and feel comfortable with. And over here we have the new KeyStep 37 from Modular, which is very interesting and also inspiring to play around with. It has a lot of new functionalities and I used it also in my performance in Amsterdam. There I controlled, for instance, another Arturia synth, the filter with MIDI CC, but as well backing tracks from Ableton with another knob. So basically with this small keyboard I did a lot of different things. The KeyStep 37 is very versatile. It actually works with any piece of gear in the studio. How I use it is mostly with a modular synth, but you can even send MIDI and CV at the same time and have basically your whole studio controlled by this small keyboard. So I'm using the KeyStep to make kind of a interesting patch with one sequence or arpeggiator. I patched the pitch output into 2 oscillators and the gate output into 2 envelope generators. And then I use the sync output to sync the Buchla. Then I have some delays going on and some effects. So let's try to play an arpeggio, like one note. So this is oscillator 1, which I can modulate the filter with the mod. So also very nice to use the bend. Then oscillator 2. Another third higher than oscillator 1. So it's kind of interesting. Then I can, for instance, have an octave extra with the CV mod control. Or even an octave extra. Do some ratcheting. How I create myself in the studio, it's changing all the time. Sometimes I have a concept, so there's already a storyline, and then I grab that and try to make that storyline into music or into sound. Sometimes I just grab one instrument in the studio which I'm inspired by or something that I have new, and like anyone, just try out a lot and see what comes out, and there will be hopefully a magic moment. Now let's use the sequencer. You could copy the arpeggiator which you just played to the sequencer, but you also can make a sequencer from scratch. What I like to do is use also the hold function, so you have rests. I clear my old sequence, then I press sequence, press record. Then I had some delay. Now we can also modulate the sequence. Alright, so now we can play around with both instruments, all from one keyboard. We use the arpeggiator on hold, so let's make nice arpeggio. Second voice. For me, it's important to not work too fast on things and go to the next one, because I found out if I do that, I have to sometimes re-record it later in the process. And when I patch the modular synth, I already have another patch and I cannot recreate it. So for me, it's important to have one melody, 5 different versions. So I always can get back to a little bit different of a sound or a texture or color. Important in my career is that I combine what I learned in the classical world with the electronics. And I think that's also a little bit my signature, is that I try to play a cello as a synthesizer and try to play a synthesizer as a cello. I want to get to that point also with physical memory, that it feels like you breathe the instrument, or you kind of have it as an extension of your body, so you really know the instrument very well. I always come back to the physical memory of an instrument, so then it's very important that the controller is good, and that I can also feel that I play the instrument. I'm not really someone that twists a filter with a mouse. I'm coming from playing an instrument, so for me that's a big difference.